Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. Now, following his repeat victory over Daniel Dubois, many people are now asking whether there's anyone out there who can beat Alexander Usyk and what are the best tactics to use to give yourself the best chance to beat him. Should you try and outbox him or should you try and pressure him? How should you go about trying to beat this man? Well, Alexander Usyk is one of the greatest fighters I have ever seen in my lifetime in any weight class. 3-time undisputed, once a cruiserweight, twice at heavyweight, the greatest cruiserweight of all time for me, hands down. I may have been the first YouTuber to say that publicly a few years ago. I was saying he was better than Evander Holyfield. He beat better opposition at cruiserweight than Holyfield did. At heavyweight, he's only fought 5 people, and so he doesn't have the depth of resume in that particular weight class of someone like Muhammad Ali. However, in boxing, styles make fights. It's rock, paper, scissors. And in my personal opinion, in a fantasy matchup scenario, I think Alexander Usyk would beat Muhammad Ali. I think he has the style to do it, just one man's opinion. But the point is, I rate Usyk extremely highly, and I have done for a very, very long time indeed. However, I do not believe that any fighter in the entire history of boxing was truly invincible. No matter how incredible a fighter is, I think there's always going to be at least one person, perhaps from a different era, who would have had the style to beat them. Again, boxing is like rock, paper, scissors. If it's not, then please explain to me how Muhammad Ali lost to Joe Frazier and Ken Norton. Both those guys were subsequently wiped out by George Foreman, but then George Foreman gets knocked out by Muhammad Ali. Boxing is rock, paper, scissors, folks. In fact, we can go more recent than that. Not in terms of who beat who, but rather which fighter had more relative success against Usyk. AJ went the distance with Usyk twice, whereas Dubois got stopped by Usyk twice, but Dubois knocked out AJ. Styles make fights. Now for me, the style at heavyweight which yielded the most success against Alexander Usyk was the pressure style of Derek Chisora. Now, before that fight, I was predicting in my videos that Usyk was going to go on to beat at least one of the top 3 heavyweights, who at the time were Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder. I was saying he's going to beat at least one of them. And the vast majority of people at the time completely disagreed with me. And after Usyk's performance against Chisora, they disagreed with me even more strongly. They were turning up in the comments of my post-fight video, which is still up, by the way, and they were asking me, how can you possibly think that Usyk could beat any of the top heavyweights after he just struggled with Derek Chisora? And my response was, styles make fights. Even though Chisora is not as good as AJ, Fury, or Wilder, and I mean at the time he wasn't, even though he's not as good as any of those guys overall, he still does certain things that those guys don't do. He still has certain attributes which those guys don't have. And it's these specific attributes that allowed him to give Usyk so many issues. He's much shorter than most heavyweights, and he fights small. He keeps his hands up and his chin down and moves his head. He rolls underneath punches. And he was rushing at Usyk so fast. The only target Usyk was seeing early in that fight was the top of Chisora's skull. AJ, Fury, and Wilder don't fight like that. They're all much taller fighters who are going to give Usyk far more time and space to box. They're all much bigger targets than Del Boy. So it's a totally different dynamic, which is what I explained at the time. And obviously, I was eventually proven right. Derek Chisora demonstrated the style and tactics which will give you the best chance to defeat Alexander Usyk at heavyweight. And understand what I'm saying here. I am not saying that these tactics guarantee you victory against Usyk. I'm not saying that at all. I've never said that. No tactics will guarantee you victory against Alexander Usyk. You're going in there as the underdog no matter which tactics you use. What I am saying, and what I've always said, is that pressure tactics will give you the best chance. And yes, I still think that even now. You see, some people are questioning this after the Dubois rematch because he pressured Usyk and got stopped earlier than he did the first time. So this idea that the way to beat Usyk is to rush him has been exposed as a myth once and for all, apparently. But let's just think this through. Usyk has had 8 fights at heavyweight. In 6 of those fights, people attempted to outbox him, and they all failed. Yet people still think that that's the best way to beat him. Even now, only 2 heavyweights have tried to rush him. And yet you're writing those tactics off already? The boxing tactics have had 6 failed attempts, but you refuse to write them off. But the pressure tactics have only had 2 failed attempts, yet you write them off already? How does that make sense? I'll repeat what I said a few moments ago. There are no tactics that will guarantee you victory against Alexander Usyk. Whether you decide to box him or pressure him, you're going in as the underdog either way. In my opinion, the only chance that this current crop of heavyweights have against Usyk is a puncher's chance. And the way to maximize a puncher's chance is to let your damn hands go. It's no good standing off, being conservative, trying to box. Never mind the success that certain cruiserweights had on the back foot against Usyk, because this current crop of heavyweights don't have the speed, agility, or stamina of cruiserweights to do that for 12 rounds. Tyson Fury outboxed Usyk for 3 or 4 rounds? Beyond that, he was knackered, and Usyk was just getting started. That stuff is not going to work over 12 rounds against Usyk if you're a big man. You're just delaying the inevitable. None of these heavyweights have the footwork, the defense, the ring IQ, or the stamina that Usyk has. You're never going to win by trying to match him in those areas. It's futile. But a couple of things that some heavyweights do have over Usyk is greater physical strength and greater punching power. And that is what they should be focusing on. Play to your damn strengths. And that necessarily means taking a gamble to land a big punch. Well, Dubois gambled and it didn't pay off. Yes, because it was a flipping gamble. Do you not understand what the concept of gambling is? There's jeopardy involved. I said all along, in numerous videos before this fight, that if you rush Usyk, of course, the chances of walking onto a shot and getting yourself knocked out are obviously going to increase. But at the same time, because you're throwing more punches, your chances of knocking him out are going to increase as well. That's the gamble. The mentality is, either I'm going to knock him out or I'll get knocked out trying. Either way, this fight ain't going the distance. That's the mindset that will give any of this current crop of heavyweights the best chance of beating Usyk, in my opinion. It's not going to guarantee you victory. No tactics will guarantee you victory against this man. It's a choice between which tactics will give you a better chance, because you're an underdog either way. You can stay on the back foot and suffer a guaranteed points defeat or late stoppage, or you can gamble on landing a big shot and risk getting knocked out early in the process. Dubois did the latter and got knocked out earlier than he did in the first fight, but the CompuBox numbers support my point. In the first fight with Usyk, Daniel Dubois landed a total of 29 punches in the first 5 rounds of that bout, only 19 of which were power shots, whereas in the rematch, he landed a total of 35 punches in the first 5 rounds, 24 of which were power shots. So the extra aggression he showed this time resulted in him landing more punches early in this fight than he did in the first fight. That's a fact. Now, obviously, he didn't manage to land the jackpot punch that he was looking for, and crucially, he got himself chinned first. Again, that's the gamble you're taking. But the one thing that people really need to understand, and should be able to figure out for themselves, quite honestly, is that not all pressure fighters are made equally. Effective pressure fighting against this level of opponent requires a very particular set of skills. I sound like Liam Neeson here. It requires a very particular set of skills which Daniel Dubois obviously did not demonstrate. First of all, you need to move your damn head, which Dubois did not do. Secondly, you need to keep your guard very tight, so any punches that you can't slip, you at least block on your gloves. That's another thing Dubois did not do. In fact, his guard was so wide open, you could have driven a flipping truck through it. Thirdly, you need to keep your chin super glued to your chest at all times, so that when you do get hit, most of the shots will be landed on your forehead, which not only means that you're more likely to be able to absorb them, but also it means that your opponent is more likely to damage his hands hitting you. And fourthly, you need to cut the ring off effectively, which again, Daniel Dubois did not do. But Derek Chisora, of course, did do all of these things against Usyk, at least for the first 4 or 5 rounds, and he arguably had more success against Alexander Usyk than any other heavyweight, and that's why he didn't get chinned, despite being so aggressive. And so the people who are writing off the idea of pressure tactics against Usyk are essentially saying that all pressure fighters are exactly the same, that no one pressure fighter is more effective than any other. If one fails, then they all fail, which is absolutely bizarre. Now, of course, you could say that about boxing tactics as well, but there's already been 6 attempts at that. And we know that Alexander Usyk has better boxing skills than anybody at heavyweight. But he doesn't hit harder than everybody at heavyweight. He's not physically stronger than everybody at heavyweight. And he's still just a human being at the end of the day. Despite the fact he's never suffered an official knockdown as a pro, I've got no doubt whatsoever in my mind that there are multiple heavyweights out there who, if they caught Alexander Usyk clean, hit hard enough to be able to hurt him, drop him, and even knock him out. But they have to be gambling on throwing plenty of those shots in the first place in order to give themselves a decent chance of hitting the jackpot. Anyway, Usyk is an all-time great. He's been fantastic for the heavyweight division and the sport as a whole. He's the standard bearer for what a world champion should be, and he rescued us from the relentless recovery of Tyson Fury, and for that, we should all be eternally grateful. I think Usyk has reached the point of diminishing returns and should retire now. If he does decide to continue, he runs the risk of getting caught with a random haymaker and losing to someone who couldn't have laced his boots in his prime. Someone perhaps using the very tactics I've described in this video. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Are you surrounded by mindless bots in human form who adhere to the norm and blindly conform? Who swallow all the mainstream BS and actually ridicule you for questioning things? Do you wish you had more free-thinking individuals in your life to network and converse with? Well, look no further. We're right here. Come and join the Brotherhood of Reason on Patreon. You'll gain access to my weekly topical content where we take deep dives on an endless variety of subjects, as well as my vast back catalogue of podcasts, videos, interviews, movie decodings, and my Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You'll also get to talk and network with myself and hundreds of other people in our members chat. You can enjoy all this via the Patreon app or on desktop and download all my podcasts in high-quality MP3. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store, or simply visit patreon.com on a web browser. Then head on over to my page and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.